Perfect. Woohoo!
We have liftoff.
We have liftoff. All right, guys, let me introduce Fred to you. Fred, very, very welcome to South Africa. Good morning to you. First of all, thank you for making it. I know that there was a little hiccup with the daylight savings time, and that's always an issue with international meetings. But thank you for making the time and being willing to meet so early. I think it's 7 a.m. your time. Is it 7 a.m. where you are now?
6
a.m. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm up early anyway. I'm up at 4:15 because I work out at 5, and I was just sort of planning our meeting, and you called and said, well, are you going to get on the call? And all of a sudden it hit me. We had daylight savings time on Sunday, which is the last time in California they voted it out.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So here I am flat-footed, but I am ready and I'm glad to be here.
Okay, awesome. Fred, well, we very much appreciate you. We appreciate your time. We're very excited about the skills that we're going to be learning. 169 of us, 170 of us on the call so far, and there's more people coming in. So I just am so excited about the next 5 weeks. It's actually it's the next 7 weeks. There's 6 sessions, 7 weeks. We have a break, guys. Just make a note on the 24th, I think it is, which works out well because we've actually got our global leadership tour for EXP, where a bunch of the big wigs from the States are coming out. So the 24th was going to be off for us anyway. So it works out perfectly. I think it's your Thanksgiving, if I understand correctly, Fred. Right?
That's correct. Yeah.
So, guys, let's not dilly-dally. We've got another just less than an hour until 5 o'clock, and I want to be done sharp at 5. So let me introduce Fred to you. I'll give you a little background as to how I met Fred and why I was so desperate to get him on the call with us. Most of the people on the call are you guys. You're in my EXP business, but we do have some guests with us today. And if you're a guest from another real estate company, you are very, very welcome. I am so glad that you've joined us, and I hope that the next 7 weeks is going to be a huge blessing to you in your business too. So Fred is also known as the agent coach. I've listened to a webinar of his on which a whole bunch of the client testimonials that have gathered over time were played. And I just heard agent after agent after agent after agent saying how the simple technique that Fred teaches has completely revolutionized their business and their income. Fred is the holder of the record for the streak. What is the streak? Well, Fred, listen to this statistic. Fred has sold a house every week for 30 years. That sounds pretty impressive to me. That's probably on average. I'm sure you do take some time off and go on holiday at points, Fred, but really that is a very impressive consistency in your business. And I met Fred in a private meeting in Jesse Zagorski's suite when I was at EXPCon in Las Vegas. Jesse, who is a very high-level leader with EXP, had invited Fred to come in, and they were speaking about a potential partnership. Fred is also the president of a real estate company called Capitus. Did I get that right? Capitus.
Capitus, but
Capitus. Sorry.
Latin.
Okay, Capitus. What does it mean in Latin?
Leader.
Capitus Real Estate. I think you've got over 100 agents that you employ in your company. So he is a big real estate leader. But on top of that, he runs a coaching business where he teaches what has come to be known as the production model. And that is what we're going to be talking about over the next 7 weeks. And Fred said to me in the discussion we started having, I have a very unique approach to teaching agents how to generate leads in their business. I am not focused on tomorrow business. Now, that's what I've always taught as a real estate trainer is tomorrow business. It's building up a referral system, building relationships, keeping in touch, having a newsletter, remembering people's birthdays and all the stuff we do to build relationships and get referral business in the future. Not that that's wrong and not that Fred would not want to get referral business. But he just said, I'm not focused on getting business tomorrow. I want to teach agents to do what I have managed to do for 30 years, and that's get business today. So that's not social media. Social media is also tomorrow business. It's building up a brand. Fred says, I have a particular skill that'll enable me, if you were to drop me in the middle of nowhere, in Pofadder, in the Northern Cape of South Africa, he's never been there in his life, parachute me into a town that I've never been in, and hardly even speak the language, maybe not, but I will be able to get business today because of the skill that I have in being able to talk to people. And there are certain skills, and I've been watching some of Fred's videos, where he will teach you how to pivot a conversation so that the conversation leads to business now. And that's with someone you just met for the first time. It is a very powerful concept, how to get business now. So I then said to Fred, please, Fred, we can't afford the coaching program, and I know it's worth every cent, but as South Africans, it's tricky. And Fred just said, I won't hear of it. I will be very glad to come on and spend time with your team. So Fred is not being paid for this. And so much more. We owe him a huge debt of gratitude. We owe him our attention. Very much appreciate the time. So I think that's all I wanted to say by way of introduction. Fred, I'm going to hand it over to you. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely. And my hope is as we go forward, you'll stay live with me, Steve, and, comment from here to there on this and that. And, or maybe, I don't know, you have maybe a chat function that comes in a question, or if somebody wants to unmute and pop a zinger. A zinger is a question that you might think throw me off guard. The thing most people don't realize about me, once you talk about the streak, it is true. I've averaged actually more than a deal a week for 31 years running, statistically. And, I've averaged in those years, I've averaged 2 months off a year, 2 months. And I had one 10-year stretch when the kids were little where I never once worked a weekend. So, and I do no marketing. I have no brand. I'm a zero cost business, zero marketing business. Now, nothing is wrong with working hard. In fact, you have to work hard. Working hard is a part of succeeding. I've had agents learn my model called the production model, and then they don't apply it. Well, it's nice to know, but you gotta put in the work. So it's not magic beans. It's nothing like that. But also, as an agent, this January will be my 18th year of podcasting, and I have been doing a daily call that entire time, a live call. So I have had many questions posed and have internalized my message, meaning it's something that just happens by second nature now. So yes, I'm at a high level with it, but one of the testimonials that Steve was talking about that recently came in was from a gal who's she's just starting her 5th month in the business, and she has closed 5 escrows, and she has several great little leads right now, and she knows nothing but the production model. And we did a control. We have another woman her same age that started with a major company and a different company, and she's been taught all the contracts and all of the things that are occurring in the business. And Lord knows there's a lot going on. I get it. And she's been building her social media feed and working on her business card and her brand. And she's done zero. They've been in the business the same amount of time. They're friends. And the difference is starkly amazing, because the gal in the control has never been taught how to make money. She's been taught everything else, but not how do you make money now. And so that's the skill that interests me in working with people. And being here today is, what would that look like? And it all starts with our topic for this week, which is how the industry, the real estate industry, is actually set up for agents to fail. Now, this sounds sort of dark and insidious and somehow conspiratorial. The industry, what, set up to fail? Well, let's look real quickly at statistics. Now, these are North American statistics, but they're I think illustrative relative to any place in the world, probably. But 85, 86, 87%, it depends, it hovers a little bit, of all new licensees are out of the business within their first 1 to 4 years, roughly. In other words, the vast majority of real estate agents fail because they don't make enough money. That's the statistic. It's a massacre of disaster. Agents are failing everywhere to make money. Now, The other thing that's interesting is of the agents who remain, a little more than 7% make over 90% of all the commissions. So that means of all the agents that remain, almost everybody else is on the outside looking in, again, at not being able to make enough money. There is this constant pressure of being able to earn your living. And the industry having its tradition, long tradition in the business of you got to get in the business, and then you got to build up your business, and you got to be able to handle the ups and downs of the economy, and maybe a brokerage change, and you get married, or you become a parent, or all the vagaries of life and business. You got to be able to survive through all of that. And what I teach are survival skills, essentially. I teach how to wake up in the morning with nothing, and potentially, with a real probability, have a new, at least minimum, an actionable direction by the end of the day. If you don't have an actionable direction by the end of the day, or certainly by the end of the next day, and at a max within a week, I mean, a week is a long time to go without meeting a new potential client. That means you're doing something else with that time. And so the industry traditionally, and today in what I'll call the modern approach with all the technology, supports what is called a future model. And a future model, as Steve alluded to, is a model in which you are encouraged to build your business into the future. And this is a laudable, excellent, worthwhile endeavor. However, most agents leave the business before they pull that off. That's simply the truth. And one of my favorite sayings in life comes from the venerable author Mark Twain, who once is quoted as having said, "First get the facts, then distort them as you please." Okay, but at least know what you're talking about, right? And the truth is, statistically, what I'm telling you is true. These are the facts. People are doing things that cause them not to succeed today. They're doing things that are designed to cause them to succeed on some other day. That's the fact. That's the culture in the real estate industry. And in the modern tech world, it exacerbates that problem. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we go forward here. But again, the real estate industry has these cultural ways of behaving that, although, again, not bad in and of themselves, don't teach you how to make money now. So I came up with the name a now model, because I was looking at my business, and it turned out once many years ago, when I had a team before a team was even a thing. I mean, I was podcasting before that was a word. We just called them conference calls. But the thing we were doing was we were into lead generation, because that's what you're taught. And I would go to major real estate conferences, and eventually became a coach involved with one of the major coaches. And I've always been interested in coaching, and I was a tennis pro, teaching professional. I couldn't make enough money to earn a living as a player. I was a good player, but you got to be very good. But anyway, the thing is, I've always been interested in coaching, and so I was building my business as I was taught, and we were generating leads, and I had over 10,000 leads in a database. And I kept kind of staring at that, because we were sending them emails, and this was when emails were clunky. I mean, this is back in the mid 90s, early mid 90s. Cell phones, this little puppy here, you couldn't get it. It didn't exist. And, we were doing it the old fashioned way, carrying around a big book called the MLS, the Multiple Listing Service book. And you couldn't go into the computer and look at listings. I mean, that's where how I got started. And I had this big clunky database, and we were sending them emails. And I said to my lead assistant one day, I said, I'm really frustrated. And she says, why is that? And I said, I don't know if all this effort's doing us any good. And she goes, I don't know either. And I said, I feel like F10ing that right now. And those of you who go back all the way, like I do, F10 was a command on your computer screen. And if you clicked it, the thing that was on the screen disappeared. There was no, are you sure? Right. And we had the database up on the screen, and she said, well, I'm game. And I impulsively hit the F10 and the whole database went away. We got rid of the whole thing. And my business never even suffered at all. And that was what got me starting to think, wait a minute, what is going on? What is it that I'm doing? Because I was going along at a deal a week, but I wasn't benefiting from my emailing. And back then we didn't have social media, and you couldn't build an individual brand the same way you can do it today. So there were these, what we'll call other seeming impediments. But the point is, I continued along. And not long after that, I made my decision to leave this major national real estate company and start my own brokerage, which I'm not sure I advise to every agent. It's a lot of breakage that goes with that business. But here I am many years later. But the point is, I made the decision to go under the radar, no more marketing, no more promotions, and no more weekends. And we moved our out of this major, big box, real estate company into a little behind the scenes, space, actually in a law firm, because my best friend was a partner in a law firm. And they were intrigued that I didn't want to be in a big brand scenario. And they said, well, you could do your business here in our law office if you want. And so I did. I opened up my own little company. I was inside the law firm, and they were my broker, because in California, a licensed attorney can function as a broker. So they were my broker, and I just continued doing what I was doing. And what I was doing were just certain things. And that was the genesis of the production model, Steve, way back then, when I started to realize that something was happening that wasn't what is taught. And I started, trying to pull that together. Well, what would it be that causes this? And to kind of fast forward again here to today, the real estate industry, I make the statement, is set up for you to fail. Again, it's not a nefarious thing. It's an industry cultural thing. The real estate industry teaches us, as Steve alluded to in the intro, to build your business into the future and build your brand and have social media and past client and referral and geographic farming and customer service and putting on a show and being the expert, giving great advice. All of these things are valid, but they all cause information to go from you toward the public. That's the essence of it. And what I was doing, I realized at some point, was reversing that flow. I was getting information to come from people to me. And because I developed skills in doing that, I was able to get what are called reveals. In other words, in my conversation with a person, it would twist and turn, but I would end up identifying an actionable direction. Whereas the normal agent doesn't have that opportunity, because they're busy putting on a show, going through their canned presentation, being the expert, knowing everything about the inventory, that they're not really having these kinds of conversations with people. And so I was really swimming against the stream. Or you could say, if you want to take a fishing analogy, most agents are down at the lake or the pond, and they've got their line in the water, and some cast better, and some have multiple lines, and some have better lures, but they're all there fishing in the same lake or pond. Me, I'm up the stream that feeds the lake. Where would you rather be? Would you rather be up the stream from where the fish are coming, or would you rather be down in the lake with everybody else trying to get the few fish? And this is why I don't have any competition in the business. Literally, I don't have any competition at all. And I don't even have a brand, people in my own neighborhood don't know who I am. But last week and this week, I did a deal in what is a down market. And I hate to say it, it's a little bit of inside information here, kind of showing you my underwear a little bit. But 2 weeks ago, I have almost 150 agents. Not one did a deal. That's where the market is. Except me. I did a deal. Same thing this week. Not one agent so far. I'm going into escrow on a new deal today. Now, yay, Fred, you could say, but I don't want it to be the Be Like Fred show. I want it to be revealing to you. And the deal that I did last week, when I woke up in the morning, last Wednesday, I had no idea that I would be in escrow and make another almost $40,000 2 weeks later, because it's a 2-week escrow. Escrow is our term here. I don't know if you use escrow there, but for once you have a contract together, getting it closed so you're done, and ultimately you get paid. Literally, when I woke up in the morning, I had no idea. By the end of the day, I was in escrow. Few agents have that, what is in essence, Steve, that ability, that I would say power, the ability to do that. How does that work? What does that look like? That's what my production model and my online learning course is about. And again, I did come here because I'm interested to do it. The truth is, you gotta kind of coax me off my soapbox. I'll be talking. I like to do it. I'm a coach by nature. Sure, I have a business model. Yes, I do make already a lot of money selling real estate sales, and I own a successful company, and my coaching is successful. So yes, I have a business partner, and he does a P&L not once a month, but every week, and he does a half P, he calls it, on Fridays. So we watch the business, and we want to make money. But I'm here because it's a spiritual thing with me, almost. I would say I'm fascinated by people and their success, and it pains me. I feel pain when agents are suffering financially needlessly. Now, I have a person right now in Los Angeles, which is about 2 hours from where I am. I'm in a resort community called Palm Springs. We have 130 golf courses within a half an hour of where I'm sitting. It's the golf mecca of the universe here. And tennis isn't far behind in terms of number of courts, and swimming pools off the charts, because we're in the desert, the low desert. Some of you've maybe heard of the famous Mojave Desert. That's where we are, part of the Mojave Desert, but it's beautiful. It's like an oasis. And today it'll be, 80 degrees, whereas in the rest of the country, it'll be, 30 degrees. So it's popular. People come here to get away. But this one coach that I have, or not coach, student, agent, and he's 2 years into the business. And his first year with the production model, he did 16 million in sales, which is not bad for a new agent. He's working the model, but he's in a little bit of a lull right now. And so my advice to him is, you have to keep working the model. The only way you guarantee failure is by quitting. It's the only way. And I've never seen an agent who has learned the production model reasonably well and who applies it reasonably consistently, who hasn't added at least a deal or two a month going forward. Never seen it. But I have seen many people learn the production model and then fail to apply it. Like kind of reading a book. And that's an interesting little topic, by the way, because I'm at the final stages of the book that would explain the production model. And at first, my partner and I, we were wondering, well, gosh, we have this incredible online learning program. People, they pay money, to do it, and people are happy. But it's a couple of $3,000 to do, depending on the program that you get. It is a lifetime license, but nevertheless, there's an investment. Whereas a book might be what, $19 or something. So you're thinking, well, why would you give it away? But you have to understand that's what it's all about in life, is giving it away. Actually, is learning to be the value add. learning to bring more than you take away. If you can do that regularly, good things are going to accrue or come back to you. And I guess that's one reason why I'm sitting here. It's my philosophy to give more than I take. So I'm going to release the book, and it's called Apex Agent. And this is all new stuff that you're hearing, Steve. I've never had this talk with anybody before about Apex Agent, because traditionally in real estate sales, you have 4 different types of agents. Traditionally, you have a listing agent. You know what that is, I think. I'm assuming our terms are matching up here. This is the first time, literally, people, I have spoken about the production model outside of the U.S. Literally is with Steve and you folks. I'm so honored and excited about it. Okay, so you have.
Sorry, let me explain to you. In South Africa, most agents will sell their own listings. We do not have an active MLS culture where one agent does the sales side, one agent does the buyer side. We have a completely different culture where you will list a property yourself, get it up on one of the 2 big portals, and try to sell that thing yourself. And I'd say 90% of all of at least exclusive mandates or sole mandates here are sold by the listing agent themselves. So it's a little bit different to your model in that respect.
Well, it's very different than our traditional model throughout the United States. And there are states, because each state is a republic, so to speak. You wouldn't know that if you were to travel around, but they make their own rules relative to real estate. Each state does. And many states do not allow what you just said. It is against the law to list a property and sell it to a buyer yourself. And okay, because what's happened is people who don't understand the business of real estate sales got a hold of the gavel, if you will, and created a law because they think there's a conflict of interest there. Now, California is one of the states where you can do what you said, and that's what we call dual agency. And that's one of the 4 agent types. You have listing agent, you have a buyer's agent, someone who's really working with buyers, not really listing much property. That is a type of agent. Then you have dual agent, which is your typical agent in South Africa. So, and when I was with Coldwell Banker, which is one of the biggest firms in the world, let alone the US, I was the #1 agent in the state of California as a dual agent. So you all are my brothers from different mothers, my sisters from different misters. I mean, we're doing the same thing, and my model is perfectly adapted to the way you do business, because that's how I do business. I still sell more than 50% of my own listings myself. Yeah, and that's unusual in the business generally in North America, although you do get people who do it, and in many places it is legal, some it is not. Okay, so you have typically, classically in North America, the listing agent, the buyer's agent, the dual agent, and then you have what is called a concession agent. Concession agent would be someone who's sitting at a model complex for a builder, or who might have an REO, a foreclosure account with a bank. So when the bank forecloses on a property, they might call that agent. That's like having a toll booth, right? And of course, they're giving up half the toll to be there. Right? It's expensive to do, but the idea is if you have enough, hey, you can go home at 5, you got your little toll booth, anybody who comes by, you exact your toll and you go forward. You're not going to get, be super prosperous doing that, but it is a type of agent. So those are the 4 types. But there is a 5th type, and my book addresses this, and it's called an apex agent. But it'll surprise you, because an apex agent, meaning someone who's at the top of the food chain, an apex predator, whatever you want to say, apex agent, isn't the agent who makes the most money. It isn't the agent who sells the most property. It isn't the agent who has the biggest team or the best brand. You'd think it would be, apex agent would be some of those things. But no, an apex agent is the person that can wake up in the morning with no business and have business by the end of the day. That person truly operates at the top of the food chain. And every single real estate agent ought to possess the skills that could cause that to happen. And that's the mission I'm on as a coach, is to teach agents literally, and now actually, or figuratively, but now actually literally around the world, this skill. Hey, I'm enjoying this. So again, an Apex agent, you wake up in the morning, you don't have business, you have business soon thereafter. Now, it's an interesting thing because I do talk to groups of agents like this around North America, sometimes Canada, which is, you know, the 51st state. No, I'm kidding. Anybody's from Canada, they're going to poke fun at me too. We love each other. I'm kind of half Canadian because our summer place is on the border of Canada and the US. A lot of relatives who are Canadians. So anyway, this idea of, however, you know, being in the now and this apex predator thing, waking up in the morning with nothing, having something by the end of the day. The deal I'm working on now, sometimes there is a delay, but that's a logical thing. When I woke up in the morning, what are we today? We're Thursday. When I woke up Monday, I did what I do. And what I do is I pick up the phone and I call 10 people by 10 a.m. in the morning. That's like religion with me. Okay. So I don't know what you might think, Steve, but let's say across South Africa, let alone across North America, how many agents do you think have spoken to 10 potential clients by 10 a.m. in the morning?
Not a heck of a lot, Fred. And that is a discipline that, in fact, we have taught for many years to agents, that you've got to have a database of people you're keeping in touch with. And every day you need to be making, in our system, it's 3 to 4 calls a day. And even those are difficult for agents to do consistently. It's the consistency that is the difficulty. So I'd actually love to know, who are those 10 people you're calling? If it's a database, now isn't that crossing over into future business, that discipline? Or anyway, you can talk through that.
What a great question. And it shows you're paying attention. Because pretty soon you're going to start, all of you, you're going to start looking at the business from a different angle. Once you've learned how the production model works, you're going to go, well, how does this fit the model? And this is valuable for you to take a new look at your behaviors based on 2 models instead of 1. And they are very synergistic, by the way. In other words, I certainly want to have a great business off into the future. And if I had a choice between a great brand and no brand, I would choose a great brand. But I don't really care because just Fred, I own a company with 150 agents and 5 offices and escrow and a mortgage. We already make a lot of money. I do my coaching. I do well with that. I'm a content creator. I write, I speak, and I just, I'm not interested in doing any more than I'm already doing. The truth is I need 28/8, not 24/7. I'm already pressed with my time. So I don't try and build the bigger brand. But to answer your question, and this is one of the top 3 questions that I am asked, actually, charting this for 20 years now. Is that amazing? I've been doing this for 20 years, coaching. And I've never tried to go international or really build the brand. We are now because it's making sense. I'm 66 years old and, I've decided, look, why wait? Right? Nobody's getting any younger. So we're getting the word out and it's going to be fun here. We just hired an ad agency 2 days ago, Steve. All kinds of fun things are happening. But again, back to his question, well, this database, or who do you call? Again, that's one of the top 3 questions I'm asked. And from the production model standpoint, the answer is going to be emotionally ungratifying, but it cuts to the quick, it cuts to the bone, the answer. And the answer is, it doesn't matter who you call. It matters that you call them. You can pick anyone. You see, I've done the numbers. It doesn't matter who you call. It matters that you call them and that you talk with them in a certain way. So I could use your database or I could use mine. If I got the one that I threw out 20 years ago, I could use that. I could use the phone book, although that's what's called cold calling, and I like to warm it up a little bit. So I'll call people in what we call my sphere of influence. In other words, people known to me in some way, shape, or form, or who might know of me somehow. I'll call people in that group, or I'll call past clients. Now, I'm slowly working towards my 2,000th closed deal. So I do have past clients, but I have what I call A clients, B clients, and C clients. And an A client are the people I call. And that's someone who is maybe likely to do something because I know them and how they behave, and they promote me. They'll say to people, you should call Fred. I mean, that's my past client referral system right there. Is I ask my past clients to promote me. I don't do anything else. I don't send anything else, nothing. Just when we close and we're shaking hands, I'm saying, my hope and expectation is you'll tell your friends and neighbors about me. That's it. So I'll call people in my sphere of influence. I will call people that are past clients. But I created this thing. And if you were to be in the production model, you'd see it. It's called the wheel of production. Now, I don't know how it works in South Africa. You're going to have to cue me up. I could say now, if I was talking to a group of agents in North America, you know, the TV show, The Wheel of Fortune, and they'd all go, oh, yeah. But it probably doesn't mean anything to you in South Africa. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, there's this big wheel that they spin. It's a game show for TV, a half-hour game show. And then they sell, you know, commercials with soap. Okay, that's how it works. Hollywood. Okay, so the Wheel of Fortune, you spin it, and then wherever it lands, you get that thing. So I created a wheel of production, and mine has about 30, I think 40 categories on it. So if I spin it, what happens is wherever it stops, I got to call 5 people in that category, and I do that 3 times a day traditionally. So that means I've called 10 people by 10 a.m. in the morning. And then throughout my day, I'm calling 3 groups of 5 people based on where the wheel hits. And I've gotten so used to it that a lot of times I'll just look at the wheel and I'll just pick 3. And yeah, I have my favorites. What are my favorites? I love to call other agents. Surprising. That surprises a lot of people. I love to call builders, developers. I love to call attorneys, accountants, architects, because they're all in this cultural industry in some way, shape, or form. And that makes them my brothers from different mothers or sisters from different misters. We have some little connection. But, of course, sometimes they don't want to talk to you. That's fine, too. And this is, again, a part of this whole way the real estate industry is set up for you to fail. And we should probably maybe go down the 4 or 5 things that are the biggest impediments, Steve. But the point is, I'm calling people every day, but I'm also, and I invented the term, you've heard of door knocking, I think. Is that something people would ever do in South Africa? Yeah. And we have some areas where you're not allowed to do that, but normally you can go knocking on doors. But I call it head knocking. And that's me talking to people on an impromptu basis in any situation. It's my favorite form of prospecting. I love to get out of the office, out of the house, get to somewhere where I might bump into someone and engage them in a conversation. And a large part of my business, over 80% of my business, is not past client referral. I meet new clients all the time doing this. In fact, just yesterday, I got a call from an agent who I had called, and she was calling me back. Hey, Fred, I saw you called. And I said, hey, Deborah, so glad you called. I just thought I would check in. I want to see what's going on with you. You know, everybody's talking about the flat market, but I continue to do some business, so yay. And I was curious, you know, of all the listings you know about or all the properties that you're involved in, what would be the most exciting opportunity? And I do this when I call agents. And 7 out of 10 times, I mean, the majority of the time, they spill the beans. They tell me about some opportunity that's coming or that they know about that nobody else really understands about. And so all of a sudden, I'm armed with that information. And this is power, because when I call people, I tell them about a propertunity. Again, that's my term. A propertunity is an opportunity property. Okay. So I will say to them when I call, say I call 5 people in my sphere of influence. I will say, God, it's so exciting. I wanted to call you. I'm so excited because just yesterday I was talking to this agent colleague of mine, and that agent told me about this opportunity. And a lot of times people go, "Oh, what?" And I'll say, "Oh, an opportunity property." And they'll go, "Oh, that's cute." Or they'll go, "Oh, really? Like what?" And we kind of get the conversation started going in the direction of benefit for them, because people do what's in their own best interest. This is the way we're set up as human beings. It's based on the principle of benefit and interest in life, which is the underlying principle with the one of the main laws of success, which is the law of advantage. In other words, we all do what's in our own best interests. That's how it works. Now, sometimes it's in our best interest to sacrifice for others, but we're still deeming it as in our best interest. We don't do things that are not in our best interests as we deem it. And so when I'm talking to someone and I'm offering something of value information-wise, they do what is called the lean in. In other words, they kind of participate a little bit more with the conversation. And learning to get the lean in is important, because what happens on most calls is you get the lean out and people are just waiting for you to stop. And so when you learn to add the ingredient of value, you get more lean ins. So your odds of getting a reveal that's an actionable direction, that's what a reveal is, go up. So there's a mechanical process to this, but it is casual, conversational, easygoing. I always tell people, I'm not in sales. I'm not in sales. I'm in opportunity. That's what I do. I'm not a real estate salesperson. I don't sell anything. I don't get anybody to do anything. What I do is I find out what people want to do, and I work with the people who want to do something now and want to do that with me. And the people who don't, I don't work with. And that's my process. But when I add value, so not just my expertise, but something that could benefit them, I get the lean in, that little change from the lean out, and it adds fluidity to the conversation. It causes the conversation to go forward more comfortably for the other person. And I'm not selling, I'm giving. This is a key difference from what most agents are taught and what most agents go through. So again, spinning this wheel of production, getting back to your question, because I maybe digressed here, who I call are people off my wheel out of one of these categories. I have my favorites, but you would develop yours. But the point isn't who did I call. The point is, did I actually call them? And then did I get into a discussion of discovery? And most agents don't understand what that is, let alone how to do it. And this is in one of the key reasons why I created my online learning course, is to teach agents how that works and how to do it, because it's a skill. And I don't teach systems. The only thing I teach are skills. All the other coaches can teach the systems and go get them. But if you want to wake up in the morning with no business and have a much higher possibility of an actionable direction of business by the end of the day, you got to learn these basic skills. So again, long answer to your question, Steve. Did I answer your question?
You did answer the question, Fred, and you said exactly what I thought you were going to say. It doesn't matter who you phone, because I'm sure as we get into it over the coming weeks, you're going to show us how this discussion of discovery, as you call it,
yes,
works with anyone you're speaking to. So yes, you did answer the question.
And, we'll build some drama, and I'm hoping people will stick with us through the entire series. I hope it will grow, because that's just my nature. Come on, let's get the word out. But the fact remains that we all have a choice in how we're going to behave and what we're going to do. And people are culturally caught up in this future model, and there's a bit of a herd mentality to it. That's like, what's everybody else doing? What are they doing that works? And then they look around and they see a quote unquote top producer who's been in it for a while, and they're one of the few that got that future model really humming and didn't go broke along the way. Okay. And they try and emulate that. And it's hard to do because that person did not succeed overnight. And it cost them a lot of money and a lot of effort. I call it breakage. And that's the problem with building a future model, is the breakage involved, the time, the effort, the energy, the money, the know-how. You have to have all that happening over time to get the return. It works if you can survive through doing it well to the point where it pays off. And some agents make that happen. And they're lauded in the real estate industry. They're held up as icons. And that's fabulous. But the rest of the agent body out there is not going to accomplish that so quickly, or have the staying power or the paying power to do it, because it costs money. But any agent can identify a new client beginning now. And when I talk to groups, I mentioned earlier, I talk to groups of agents, I always ask this question. We can do it now. How many people would prefer to do business sooner versus later? I wonder what the answer to that would be of all the people on the call. If there was a way to poll you, raise your hands, the few that I can see. Would you rather do business sooner, or would you rather do it later? Which would you prefer? And over here in North America, everybody says sooner. Yeah, I see a couple of hands going up.
Yeah,
a couple of
no-brainer. All the hands are going up sooner.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a trick question in a sense, because there's no trick to it at all. Just be honest. Answer, yeah, I'd rather do a deal sooner. And so that basic understanding is behind this production model thing. So real quickly, just so that I don't blow it in terms of my notes, I'm going to look. You can still see me, but I'm just on my screen here. I have couple little notes. I just want to make sure I get it right, because I wanted to chronicle this for you if you're taking notes, okay? And that is the 5 chief reasons why the industry is, as I like to quip, set up for you to fail. Again, it's not a nefarious thing. It's simply a cultural thing. And if you can remind me, because I want to maybe get this out, Steve, but we'll talk about the modern version of real estate. I've talked about the traditional culture, but we'll talk about the modern in a moment, because it exacerbates it. It actually increases the problematic nature of success, all the technology, and it'll surprise people. But let's just quickly write down, people, the 5 key reasons that get in your way in terms of the industry. One is this whole future model versus now model. I call it future business versus now business. And now business is sort of the name of our series, how to do now business, how to do business now. So I've talked about that at length, because this is our opening session together. The next reason, number 2, why people fail in the real estate industry based on how it's operating, is what is called a scarcitive mindset versus an opportunitive mindset. Now, think of the terms negative and positive. In other words, in terms of mindset, it's more important to be positive, and it's something you should avoid being negative. We know this. You hear people say, get yourself away from all the negativity in your life. Don't be near negative people. We hear this, and it's true, by the way. But in real estate sales, being positive isn't enough to make money now. It's essential, but it's not enough. You have to learn to become opportunative, which means have an abundance mentality, but not so much in the typical, if you Google abundance, you're going to get all this stuff. It's an entire world. It's an entire industry, abundance, and it's all good. But I'm talking about a specific thing, and that is understanding that the problem is never lack of opportunity for us as real estate agents. The challenge we face is lack of access to the opportunity that's there. And so most agents believe the problem is lack of opportunity. And since they don't think they have any opportunity today, they get busy trying to create it in the future. And now they're absolutely lockstep in with future modeling. You have to understand that because everybody lives somewhere and everybody is changing, everyone's real estate needs are always subject to change in some way, shape, or form, which creates a perfect storm for you in the business. If you go at it with the understanding that opportunity is there under the surface, you just don't know where, and you develop the skills that cause a reveal of where it is to occur, game on for you. But if you don't believe there's opportunity now and you think it's coming in the future, potentially, depending on what you do, you've just taken yourself out of the game today. And this is what's going on in the real estate industry. Agents believe that opportunity is a good thing and that more is better, but that it's not here now, it's coming later, that it's rare, it's fleeting, and you better get it before you lose it, and you better get it before someone else does. And that's all scarcity thinking. And that is not how the world is actually set up. And so this mindset is one of the big reasons why the industry holds agents back. Number 3 on that list.
We got about 5 minutes.
Very good.
Yeah.
Number 3 on that list. So you've got future model versus a now model. You've got scarcity thinking versus abundance thinking. I say scarcity, the opportunative. Then you have presentation flow versus investigation flow. And I alluded to this earlier. I mentioned that what's going on with most agents is they're getting information out to the public in some way, shape, or form. And what you do with the production model is you reverse the flow. You learn, again, Steve alluded to this earlier, in your conversations with people, how to get information coming your way. And you learn to do it in a casual, impromptu, improvisational, cocktail party way. It's not hustling anybody. It's not sales. It's discovery. And this is a thing that I teach that I think is changing the real estate industry one agent at a time, because most agents do not understand about the flow of information. They're taught to get the word out, but they are not taught how to get information to come in a way that causes them to identify an opportunity that was under the surface. And it is the high skill in the business, and we'll devote one of our sessions to that entirely, Steve. So you've got future modeling holding agents back. You have scarcity thinking holding agents back. You have presentation mentality or approach versus investigation or discovery approach holding agents back. And then you have indirect versus direct communication. And this speaks specifically to that modern technology thing. And I'll do it here in 30 seconds, this one, because I want to get to number 5. But what we're taught in today's modern world is to reach out to people. And we can do it not just on the phone, but we can do it with email. We can do it with social media. We can do it online. And there's traditional advertising as well. That's all indirect communication. In other words, you do something with the hope that it causes something to happen to you. Well, it's indirect. Direct is talking to someone face to face or ear to ear. That's it. And when you do that, if you learn the right skill, you have the ability to identify actionable directions of business immediately. So you're not waiting for something to happen to you. What I'm saying is, because of indirect communication, most agents are waiting for something to happen to them. That is future modeling. So it supports that other one. And number 5 is systems management over skills development. What we're taught in the real estate industry is to implement these systems and to get everything set up and humming along. Whereas I've learned what really matters are my skills. Even if I don't have great systems, if my skills are good, I still do business now. And my model, of course, the production model, is a skills model. So those are the 5 things. Again, this whole future modeling thing, this scarcity thinking thing, this presentation or outflow of information thing, this indirect communication thing, and this systems, building systems instead of skills thing are the 5 main reasons, Steve, why agents fail in the business relative to the industry as it works commonly. And I'm on a mission to break that stranglehold and teach individual agents how to do the production model, which is a now model, which is an investigation model, which is an opportunity model, which is a direct communication model, which is a skills development model. So there it is in a nutshell, Steve.
Beautiful, Fred. Thank you so much. What a great start, guys. What a great start to this series. Wow. I hope you're as excited as I am. So just sort of the impression I'm left with here, which is so exciting to me, is that first of all, there are a set of disciplines that Fred has spoken about: getting on the phone, phoning 10 people, then phoning 5 a day, 3 times a day. So there are some consistent disciplines which you're going to get into, getting on the phone. And then there's a skill when you're on those conversations, or you're out head knocking, as Fred calls it. There is a skill to getting into what Fred calls a discussion of discovery, whereby you're getting information to come into you that then opens up opportunities, and it's knowing how to then. So I guess, Fred, one of the things you've said to us is that even with the conversations that many estate agents are having every day and every week, in so many of those discussions, if they just knew how to have the discussion, that they're leaving opportunities on the table in the conversations they're already having. It's the skill of getting into that discussion of discovery. So, guys, I'm super excited. I know you all are. If you would like to hang around, we're at 5 p.m., so you're welcome to leave. I am going to be sending out the replay later today. If you guys would like to ask Fred a question, I think let's go into a little bit of Q&A. You happy, Fred, to just hang around for a few minutes? So, guys,
it's early in the morning.
It's not even breakfast time for you. So, yeah, guys, God bless you. If you want to go, no problem. But if you do have a question, now is your time to raise your hands, and I'll point you out, and then you can put your microphone and ask your question. So go ahead and raise your hand now if you've got a question.
This is where the zingers come up, Steve.
Hi, Fred. I'm Cheryl.
Hi, Cheryl.
Thank you very much for a phenomenal presentation and teaching us some of what you know. When will your book be out?
It's hard to say exactly, but I am very hopeful that it will be in the publishing process before the end of the year. And the idea is to have it as a hard copy or a paperback, whatever, soft copy, and an e-reader.
Okay.
So yeah, it's exciting. It's a big effort writing a book, and it'll be my second release. I do have a book that I suggest you read if you want. And it deals with this one particular cornerstone in my program about how to develop this opportunity paradigm in your life, because without that, you are sailing with the anchor out, people. So it's called The Third Law of Success. I don't know, it just costs a few bucks. It's no big deal. The Third Law of Success. My pen name, if you will, is J. Frederick Wilson. I'm Jack Frederick Wilson. Everybody calls me Fred, but it's J. Frederick Wilson. You can get it, I don't know if you shop Amazon or anything like that in South Africa, but it's an e-reader, I think. And I haven't tried to promote it. Didn't write it to be a bestseller. Most sales have been hard copy sales. We've sold over 5,000 sales to my students. I wrote it for my students, and it teaches how opportunity actually works. And once you get that message, you start to open the door in ways that are just not available to you prior.
Thank you for sharing that, and great success with your new book.
Thank you.
Hi, Fred. It's Michelle here. Thank you. That was awesome. I just want to know, why are your agents not following the production model? Why are they not selling?
It's an interesting thing you ask, and obviously, again, someone paying close attention, Steve, to the presentation. It has been a mystery to me, but it has to do with the way humans work. The truth is, in the pyramid of success in life, you have that few who are at the top. And one, as a coach, asks the question, Steve, as a coach, we ask the question, why is that? Why aren't more people able to get to the top? And it took a long time for me to learn the reason for that. And it's because people won't go there. There's actually nothing holding them back except what's going on in that 6-inch space between their two ears. And it typically has to do with their level of motivation. Most people are not as motivated to succeed in real estate sales as I have been. That's just the truth. Now, there are plenty, if we're counting actual heads, who are more motivated than I am. I'm not number one on the planet. I don't do the most of everybody, but I am highly motivated to succeed in real estate sales. And most of the agents, and that would include most of the agents in my company, are moderately motivated. And that keeps them down. So in a down market, their perception is there isn't enough opportunity, and they start coasting. And this,
So it's a mindset. Like
mind thing. It's a mind thing. Now, I'll be honest with you. I have trained some of the top agents in our marketplace. There's about 5,000 agents in our marketplace, and they've defected and left my company and gone to what they would perceive a better deal. The headhunters, the recruiters, they see these people that I've helped build their business, right? They come offering them everything in the kitchen sink, and a lot of them jump ship. It's okay. I didn't do it to control them or anything. I simply taught them how to make a lot of money. One of the testimonials I think that Steve heard that'll be released on this new webinar that's coming out in about 30 days of mine for anybody to listen to anywhere for free, but in promotion of my online learning course. But he says, I learned the production model with Fred, and I did 30 deals in my first year. And then last year we did 75 deals, he and his wife, using this model. And he credits the production model and my coaching with it, but he did jump to another company. That happens. That's business. I get it. Do I think my company's the right place for everybody? Sure, because everybody thinks their baby's the most beautiful, right? But I get it. So, we had a couple of slow weeks. Nobody did anything, but I did, because I'm the one person who's absolutely picking up the phone and talking with people in discovery mode. And it's interesting because if you look at recent deals I have, in fact, I didn't tell the whole story. I digressed. I said that the agent called me back, if you remember earlier in the presentation, Deborah. She called me back and I said, Deborah, what's going on? And we got into a discussion of discovery, and she told me about a house that she had that was for lease, but the seller would sell at a good price. So I went to the portal, where it's housed, and I looked at it. It was beautiful, in a good location at a good price. So I started calling past clients to introduce that opportunity. And one of the past clients said that they were going to remodel. I knew this because I sold them the house, and they were going to remodel. And they've decided 18 months later, not quite 18 months, they don't have the appetite for a remodel. So they're thinking they're going to sell and just buy something that's already done. So start doing the math here. I can help them sell their house and maybe bring that buyer in, and I can help them buy Deborah's house that isn't even on the market. See, this is what comes out of talking with people in discovery mode. And all the other agents, they don't have a clue to any of it, because they're busy putting on a show and waiting for business to come to them. You see the difference? And here's the kicker. John and Keith, these guys that I sold the house to, who are maybe interested in Deborah's lease listing as a purchase, right? I was doing an open house. I assume you do those maybe in South Africa, okay? And nothing was happening. So when nothing's happening in an open house, I'm either on the phone calling people, or I'm standing in the driveway trying to talk to people in the neighborhood. That's me at an open house, okay? So I was standing in the driveway of this open house, and I saw a car edging its way down the block, and kind of rubbernecking, our term for like looking at properties. And so when they got close to the driveway, I literally stepped off the curb, and I put up my hand and I stopped the car. And then they stopped, because people respond to that. It's the universal signal, right? And then I gave the next universal signal, which is this, which means roll down your window. And they did. And they go, may we help you? And I said, I was watching you come down the street, and you're either lost or you're looking at property. And he goes, oh, gosh, we're looking for architectural ideas. Now, that's a kind of a reveal. And I said, really? How so? Well, we live in Palm Springs, and we're thinking of moving, but we're not quite sure what style. We're thinking, modern, but we're not 100% sure. And I said, well, how important is architecture to you as opposed to view? Now, this is the basic technique that I teach, called the ask to listen technique, that I will teach you during this series. Okay? And I'm asking a question based on what it is they said. That's the essence of the technique. Now, all of you who've stayed on the presentation here later, you're kind of getting the good stuff here now all of a sudden. But anyway, I said, what's more important to you, architecture or view? And they said, oh, well, view is very important to us. And we got into a discussion of discovery. God's truth, I can introduce Steve to these people. Okay? I listed and sold their house in Palm Springs, and I sold them a house in my town. And I met them head knocking, actually hood knocking, as they were coming down the street. And I do this kind of thing all the time. I was out buying carpet the other day because in my broadcast studio, here you're at Studio One, I've been doing this for almost 18 years, okay? I have a full studio. It's fun. I love it. Yay. And I've worn out the flooring, rolling my chair around and stuff over the 18 years. And so I wanted to put down a little bit of new carpet. And so this is how attraction works, because once I knew I needed carpet, I started seeing carpet stores as I drove around. Before I hadn't seen them. And I noticed one right in our community that I didn't even know in that little area of businesses. I didn't even know it was there, but I wasn't aware that I needed carpet. So I didn't make the connection. This is why it's so important to know what's going on in your mind, people, and be clear about what it is you want, because attraction is based on clarity. The clearer you are about your objective, and the higher the priority of that objective relative to the options, the much greater the chances of you succeeding in that way. That's how it works. So I see this little carpet store. So, and this is how I operate. This is how I roll. So I need the carpet. So I pull my car over. I go into the little store, and there's a young woman who's managing the store. And I buy carpet, $750 installed. I mean, we're talking about 8 by 12 feet. This little studio, it's not a big thing. And I get into a discussion of discovery with her. This is the actually talking to someone. It didn't matter where, carpet store, out on the street, on the phone, didn't matter. But getting into a discussion of discovery, which we're going to talk more about how to do in the series. Anyway, she ended up buying a listing of mine that hadn't hit the market yet. I made $42,000 by spending $750 to get some carpet. And this goes on every month, if not every week, with me regularly, because I talk with people. And when I'm talking with them, I'm in discovery mode. So I want to make sure I answered your question, because I can talk and I can dance too. So I hope I did.
Fantastic. Xenia, are you still around? I saw you had your hand up. Thanks, Michelle. Are you still with us, Xenia?
Thanks, Steve. Can you hear me?
Yep, yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Thank you. Fred, thank you for the teaser. This is really fantastic, and it's absolutely stunning to, hear all of this that's going to be coming. So it is in the future that's coming from you, but getting business sooner. I'm just curious. I hope you don't mind me looking at it from this angle, but your model that you're going to be presenting, is it at all anything similar to the Keller Williams productivity model that they look at?
No. Keller Williams, has their culture and their approach, but it's, you could say it's semantics, but to me, it's more definition. Productivity is not what I teach. Not at all. I teach production. I don't teach how to be organized. I don't teach people how to do things efficiently. I don't teach them how to have the best systems. They're trying to keep people working. And I get that. And there's a place for that for sure. But what I teach is how to do a deal now. That's production. And that's based on certain skills. And I leave all the other coaching to all the other coaches. And there's a place for that that's bigger than the place I have. I am in a certain lane. I have a certain niche. I teach people how the business is working against them culturally so that they're made aware. And that's what we talked about today. And then I show them how to alter their behavior mentally and in terms of the action steps they take and the skills that they learn so that they can tap opportunity that's latent, meaning it's there, it's just not obvious. That's the challenge. Steve mentioned this earlier. Most agents are missing the opportunities in front of them, and it's worse than that. They don't even know the opportunities are there. I teach people how to cultivate that, how to get involved in that. And so I'm in a very specific lane, and we have many Keller Williams agents actually leaving Keller Williams today. That's another story in North America, but taking my program because they've learned how to become efficient and productive, but they're still going broke. They're not doing enough business, and they want to know, how can I do a deal and pay my mortgage, my house bills? You know, I got to make money. And so that's what I teach.
Thank you. Fantastic.
You're
Betty.
welcome.
Hi, Fred. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Patty.
Hi, Fred. Thank you so much. It's been very interesting, and I'm looking forward to the whole series. You might have noticed earlier, I actually made a note that I think for me personally, I don't have enough time to be in that production side because I'm taking up so much time with admin, and I've tried to get a team behind me that can take care of some of those things, so that I can get out more and double my output on phone calls and things. So, what sort of a team do you personally have yourself? That helps you. I'm not talking about your agents. I'm talking about that force behind you.
Yes, I have a half an assistant. And I don't mean someone who's very short. But a gal named Wendy Mitre, who I met in real estate school in the summer of 1990. That's where we met. Both went into the business in the fall of 1990. She at one company, me at another. And within that first year, she was going under and I was starting to do business. I didn't know why I was doing business yet, but I was starting to do business. And I had been told by a coach that I was paying a lot of money to that I couldn't get caught in $10 an hour work. I should be doing $100 an hour work. This is 30 years ago now. So now it would be $30 an hour work versus $300 an hour work. But I offered Wendy a job when I couldn't afford it. I just jumped off the cliff and offered her this job. And she became my assistant. And she was also allowed to try and generate business herself because she was licensed. And here we are 31 years later, and she has risen to the ranks of broker of record, which is an important title in a brokerage. She's the one that everybody else is working under, so to speak. Me, I don't like to be that person because I'm a cowboy. I wing it. I'm not Mr. Productivity. I'm Mr. Production. They're different things. So Wendy, she is the person dealing with all my 150 agents. I coach when they want it, but otherwise I'm not dealing with them. But she still handles my deals, and that takes a little bit of her time. So that's the only help I have is right there.
That's very interesting. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Bram, Yobe, go for it.
Thank you, Steve. I found this very interesting, this conversation with you and your mindset and everything. I just want to ask you a question. Everybody's got different personalities in life, and you've got your introverts and your extroverts and those type of things. So what you're talking about, and if I flow it correctly, I understand it correctly, is when you need to go out and engage with people, and that's more like the extrovert type of things that you need to do. What plan can you give us or advice for people that's a little bit more of an introvert type of person that needs to do that?
You're right. There are types, and some of the self-improvement coaches out there make an entire buffet of this, and it's pretty cool stuff. Profiling personalities and types. But I do think the generally introvert extrovert thing is applicable. I can relate to what you're saying and asking. I have seen people who are extroverts fail in the business, and I've seen introverts succeed. So there's not a mutual exclusion, but if a person is willing to talk with people, it would be better than if they're not willing to. So if an introvert cannot put on the extrovert hat, so to speak, from time to time, and do the job that's required if you're going to enjoy now business, and the job that is required is talking to people, then they're at risk in terms of succeeding now. And they would probably be more on the future model and promoting and digital outreach and trying to get people to know, like, and trust them, and to, when they're going to do something, contact them. They're probably going to be more in that world, and it's going to be a harder thing to do business now. But what I've found out with introverts is they learn the model, but they just go about it in an introverted way. So they're less bombastic, they're less chatty, they're less the life of the party, but they still talk to people in their own way, and they've learned the skill of discovery, and so they still identify opportunities, even though they're not, in an extrovert way. I have found that introverts gain just as much as extroverts with the model.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's interesting, Fred. Anybody else got a question? All right, guys, that's brilliant. I think it was a fantastic kickoff to the series. Fred, thank you again. Have a great week. We will see you next week at 6 a.m. your time.
That's correct.
Good. Oh, we appreciate you, Fred. Thank you.
Thank you to everybody. It's been my pleasure. Write your questions down. I will challenge you during the week. Write questions down, because when you get on the call, you might not have it. Write it down, and that way when Steve asks, we'll get some really good questions, because I've found questions open up angles on how this works. And of course, if you're thinking it, everybody else is too, so everybody benefits. So that would be my suggestion.
Okay. Super. God bless you guys. We'll see
Thank
you all
you.
next week. Fred.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone.